Hey guys, Simon here and welcome back to my channel, Such Plants. This is my 1 week update video on my Ecuagenera import. So we're going to be looking at all the plants that I unboxed last week and seeing how they're all doing and giving you some idea of what I am going to be looking for. Basically what I've done is most of the Anthurium that I unboxed last week, I kept just in this room that I'm filming in now. This is a room that I set up during winter for a lot of my more sensitive philodendrons and Anthuriums. It was heated and the humidity, because I've got some fish tanks in here, has been raised a little bit. So probably be around about 20 and 25 degrees. And about 50% humidity to 60% humidity in this room. So because they were fairly well rooted and the leaves were looking great, I've just kind of left them in the room outside of a humidity chamber because I didn't feel like that needed any extra humidity. The philodendrons weren't doing as well as the Anthuriums were, so I did put them into a humidity chamber and a box, and in there, obviously around about the same temperature because it was sitting in this room as well. And the humidity in that chamber was around about 99%. So those guys really had a very high humidity to help them out with those really bad roots. I feel like, especially in this first week, and any plant that doesn't have any roots, so if you're doing any propagations or anything that you're working with that has maybe rotted roots, having high humidity makes a massive difference to that plant, because it just prevents that plant from transpiring through its leaves and slows that process right down. So you're not losing as much water through those leaves as you would in lower humidity. So the plant doesn't need to rely on its roots as much to provide it with water. So even with a very small root system, because the plant is using so little water, it doesn't need such a big root system. And once that root system grows, you can slowly start decreasing the humidity and giving those plants a little bit less humidity, and they'll do better. So I think what I'm going to do now is maybe just tell you what I'm expecting, what I'm looking for today. The philodendron I haven't really had a close look at. All I've been doing is leaving them as much in that box as possible. I've opened it in the morning before I go to work, and again in the evening when I get home, and probably again just before I go to bed, just to get a bit of airflow in there and not have it too stagnated, because there are some leaves that might not be doing so well or some areas of the plant that might be dying. You don't want to stagnate that air too much, because you're just going to be inviting things like funguses and molds and that kind of thing into the plant, and that can cause even more damage to those plants. So that's one of the things that I'm going to be looking for today when I look at these plants. I'm also going to be looking for any leaves that might have yellowed through this week while they've been in the box. I don't think that we'll be seeing any kind of new growth or new root growth at this point, because it's still a little bit early days. I think that'll be something I look for maybe in my next video, like a 1 month update. I'll start looking to see if we're getting any new growth on these plants, especially in the root department, because that's where we're going to hopefully see the most. I'm also going to be looking at the plants and seeing like some of the plants that had very floppy leaves, making sure that those leaves have firmed up, that they are hydrated again, that those plants are feeling a little bit healthier and not still battling. If they are still battling, it might be a consideration to then chop those plants up into nodes and rather propagate each individual node. I'm hoping I don't have to do that with any of the other plants. I already did it with the serpents last week, and from what I can see and what I have seen, I think all these plants are doing really well. In fact, I've been really impressed with how well they've done. I was expecting a lot worse with this update video. I was expecting to show you guys some real dramatic leaf fall off and that kind of thing. It doesn't seem like that's happened, but like I said, I haven't had a really close look at these plants, so there might be 1 or 2 things that come out as a surprise to me, but in general, if I just give it a once-over glance, they all seem to be doing really well. I'm also looking for any extra browning, any mushiness on the plants, any parts of the plant that might be dying that I need to remove to prevent that from spreading through the plant. And that's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and have a look at the plants. I'm going to start, I think, with the worst of the bunch. So we'll start with the Serpens and the SP Columbia, and actually the Tenu as well, that I forgot to include in the unboxing video last week. Just at the end, you saw a little bit of what I had done with it. But that basically arrived with 0 roots. So I chopped off the bottom 2 nodes, and those 2 are here. I put the one into perlite. He's still doing great. These are in a converted fish tank that I have now converted into a propagation box. There is a grow light in there. So that's where these guys are. The leaves have firmed up really nicely. They seem to be doing really well. That's the one in perlite. This is the one in water. This was actually the bottom cutting. I was a little bit worried about that bottom section because I felt like that bottom section there looked like it was rotting, but it actually isn't. I felt it isn't soft, it's still firm, and so hopefully we'll get some roots growing on this within the next couple of weeks. But for now, that leaf also seems to be doing really well. Then we have the SP Columbia. This is the guy that came in with super yellow leaves. He seems to be doing all right. Like I said, I'm not expecting to see any major growth yet. He hasn't died. That's a good sign. I haven't actually watered these plants yet because they've been in such high humidity, except for the anthuriums. The anthuriums I have watered through the week when I felt that they've needed some watering because they aren't in such high humidity. But I probably will, before I put these guys back into their humidity chambers, give these guys a little water just to make sure that they are properly, fully hydrated. The Serpens, this is the bottom cutting. So he's in just a cup with perlite. I'm not sure how well this guy's gonna do. I'm positive that he will come back, at least one of them. You know, I have this bottom cutting, and then I have these 3 node cuttings, and these seem to be doing really, really well. They have stayed firm, no signs of rotting or any other browning or damage. So there are 2, let me see if I can show you. There are growth points, one right over there. I don't know if you can see it. I'll actually take this out and then I can show you that way. There's one. This one also has a nice growth point that will grow shortly, I'm sure. I'd like to think that I've seen some changes in those new growth points, but to be honest, I think that's just wishful thinking. But I am positive. I can't see why these guys wouldn't root and grow new growth, and I'm looking forward to having 4 Serpens instead of 1. Silver lining. Okay, moving on to the plants that were in the humidity chamber. Just a reminder that this is the first time that I'm bringing these plants out of this box, so I will be as surprised as you as to how a lot of them are doing. I have had a few sneak peeks, but I haven't really looked too closely at them. The first one out is the Philodendron varicose Amazon Sunset. This plant I had heard shipped really, really badly, and when I speak to some of my friends that bought the same plant in the Ecuagenera shipment, a lot of them have struggled with it. I think I have been very, very lucky with this guy. He has firmed up very nicely. Both these leaves are doing very, very well, and he even has unfurled this leaf, which is looking pretty amazing. There is a small brown spot right down there, but other than that, this plant is doing incredibly well, and I'm very, very happy with it. Hopefully, if I look at the roots, they seem to be in fairly good condition still. There's no major rot happening, and I'm very happy with this guy. The next plant I have is the Fibrosin. This plant, I don't know if you remember from last week, had a very, very soft leaf. This leaf has firmed up really, really nicely. I will try and insert some footage from last week about what this leaf looked like. And it has also unfurled this great leaf. Also a little bit of browning right over here. But considering what it's been through, I am very impressed that this plant has done as well as it has. And over here, there is a new cataphyll coming through. and that seems to be in good condition as well. The one thing that I will say about this Amazon Sunset, I forgot to show you this, is if you look at that new catapult, there is some browning on the end of that. So it will be interesting to see what happens there if it aborts that new leaf or if a new leaf comes through. I'm not taking anything off at this stage. I'm happy to leave that and see what happens. Next up in here is the only Anthurium that I did keep in high humidity. It's the Queen. I was worried about her in such low humidity in this room, but at 50% I know these do prefer slightly more humidity. So this plant is doing really well as well. These two bottom leaves, they were yellowing and they have not continued to yellow. So I'm leaving them on for now. They might, maybe a little bit yellower now. I'm really happy that this guy is still doing amazing. This is the Tenu that I forgot to unbox last time. What happened with this plant is that I left it in the car that I was traveling in with a friend of mine, and I forgot about it when I got back. So I did the unboxing video and then collected this plant the following day. I did do a video that I was going to add in, but I forgot to do that, so it is what it is. It arrived with 0 roots. It had a lot of aerial roots that were super dried out, so I've cut those off and basically tried to root this from scratch. The leaves still look great. This is the only one that still looks slightly floppy. It is the newest leaf, so that's fine, and it doesn't seem to be yellowing at all, so I'm happy about that. The new growth has gone a little bit brown over there. Not so sure how that's going to do or if it's going to come through. It might just be the tip of the leaf that is damaged. We'll keep an eye on that over the next month. This is the Allertian. This plant also seems to be doing fine. The leaves look great. The problem that I can see is that this new leaf coming through has gone brown. So I will have a look at that now before they go back in and see if I need to do anything here to prevent it from rotting through. I'm not really sure. I'll have a look and see what's going to happen there. But other than that, this plant doesn't look too bad. It is perked up, it is firmed up. Really, really nice. The Subhistatum is also doing amazing. I did expect this plant to do amazingly well. It felt like it was going to be. It's one of those really fleshy plants, quite fleshy leaves. Even through the shipping process, it didn't look like it was struggling at all. There's no new leaf coming through here yet, so we'll see if that does come through. And like I said, no problems with this guy. The Luxurians. This is the leaf that was starting to yellow last week, and as you can see, it has deteriorated slightly, and I thought and knew that it would, so I'm not surprised by that. But what I am surprised by is that this leaf is still in really, really good nick. I am pretty impressed by that. So I'm really happy with this guy. The new catapult is also looking good, no issues there. So hopefully this plant does really well. This is the second last plant out of the humidity chamber, and this is the Pastazana. This leaf does seem a little bit floppy, but I think it's because it has been up against the roof. It's got a really, really long petiole. So it's been up against the roof, but it does feel firm. When I touch it, it doesn't feel floppy. It just looks floppy because it's been up against that roof. And it hasn't, this petiole feels firm as well. This guy is also looking pretty good. The last plant out of the humidity box is the Nanoretains. This is a plant that I knew was going to do really well even before I put it in there. It has really got, it had firm leaves even last week. These leaves are really leathery and they feel like they are really going to do well. So I'm not worried about this plant at all. I know it's going to do really well. The leaves all look exactly the same as they did last week. Yeah, what I expected out of this guy. On to the rest of the Anthuriums. These have all done also amazingly well. I've been super surprised. I mean, I know they came in and I know I said how well they're doing and that they were better than the Philodendron, but I did expect maybe a couple of yellowing leaves through this week, especially because they were being kept at the slightly lower humidity. This is the Veitchii, and he is just spectacular. And I know I said I didn't expect any root growth this week, but I have been watching that guy this week, and he definitely has some new root growth. So that is amazing to see so early on. The Queramalensi, this plant I did end up chopping the newest leaf off. Last week you saw that it was absolutely horrific, but the other two leaves have pretty much stayed the same. There's some mechanical damage on this leaf, but no extra yellowing from last week. And thank you to whoever it was that commented on my unboxing video last week. I was quite nervous about this plant, and they have said that they have found it fairly easy care, so I am now not as worried about it, but still scared. That catapult does have a little brown tip to it, so I'm not sure about the new leaf that will come out of that. If that doesn't produce a new leaf, the next catapult will, so I'm not terribly concerned about it. This is the Palaeflorum, and although this leaf over here is turning yellow, it is the oldest leaf. There is right over there a new leaf starting to come through. Really like this plant. Long, strappy, sort of satiny leaf. It's very pretty. Doing really well. The last plant, the Magnificum. This plant also has done really well. No extra yellowing on the leaves that it currently has. The only thing that I have just seen with this plant now is that this new leaf doesn't look like it's going to be amazing. I'm not sure. To me, it just seems like there's a little bit of browning on it. I don't know if it'll unfurl. But like I said, you know, with imports, I've been super happy with everything that's come in. Very impressed that it's done so well this week. And hopefully that continues through the next 3 weeks. And in my 1 month update, I'll be able to tell you and show you some amazing new growth possibly on these plants. And hopefully this guy will do well. So that is it for this video. I just want to put in a disclaimer again and just let you know that I'm not a plant expert. I have been keeping plants for about 2 years now. I'm just doing what I feel is going to work for me. I'm experimenting a little bit. Some of these things may work really well. Some of them might look like they're working and then fall apart later on. So if you see something in this video that you think will work for you, please feel free to go ahead and try it out, but understand that you're doing that at your own risk, and it may or may not work. I guess we'll see in the long term whether I've made the right decisions with some of these plants. It also is very much dependent on the plant itself. Sometimes, you know, a plant is just a strong plant and it does really well. Especially the Amazon Sunset. I don't think I'm doing anything specifically different from what other people that bought that plant in have done and have struggled with the plant. I think I've just been very lucky that the plants that I've received have done well. I think my next update on these plants will be in about a month's time, but in between then I'll see if I can find some videos to put out in between to keep you guys interested. Thanks for watching, and I hope you guys are having an awesome day.